All right, good people, hello and welcome to Makers. Today we are energized to welcome the two disruptors and brave leaders behind an inspiring new book, All the Cool Girls Get Fired, with Laura Brown and Kristina O'Neill. These ladies have written what is kind of a how to guide if you find yourself in the situation where you have been fired, let go, or downsized, and it captures beautifully how they handled their own pivots after experiencing it for themselves. The book includes chats with Oprah Winfrey, Katie Couric, Tarana Burke, and more, and it really comes from a place where getting fired isn't just an unexpected pivot, but it could be the beginning of a purposeful comeback. Makers is a brand that believes in the power of stories and that equity is a call to action, not just a trend. We have so many leaders in our community who speak on the importance of financial freedom and the power of ownership. So we knew this conversation would be timely. First, I love the title of this book. In and of itself, it's a paradigm shift and really makes one think about how you frame opportunity, even through failure. So I must start, ladies. We got to start here. What does getting fired mean beyond losing your job?
Oh, it means, okay,
We're going
at
right
its
for it.
at its best. Look,
Yeah.
I'm going to make the disclaimer that, after you lose your job, your financial health considerations always need to come first, and that's different for everybody.
Mm.
So that's number one. And so the book is a roadmap for all of those things. But what firing can be at its best is it can shock you into a new life and into a new, more fulfilling, more control, more agency, and like you said, Janae, more ownership. And that's what we all work towards in our career: ownership of the good and the bad. But the ownership that you developed over your skills, your equity, everything you've done does not disappear when your job does. And look, we're well aware life is not a vision board, workplace isn't a vision board, paying your rent is not a vision board. But to let that get into your brain in that moment where you have whatever time you have is a real blessing, and just letting that steer you a little, even if the next job you've got to take is in 2 days because you've got to pay your rent. Maybe there's something you allowed yourself to think about, something you love, that might be a bit of a pilot light to guide you in a new direction.
Mm. Love that. Christina, what about you? What does getting fired mean beyond losing your job?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity to reset. Like Laura was just saying, it really is a forced pause and, one that many people aren't anticipating. So shock does protect, I think, a lot of the emotions that come next. But I, in retrospect, really enjoyed the period that came after because it
Mm.
forced me to sort of sit down and make those lists, whether they're actual or mental, where I was able to sort of say, you know what, I didn't actually really like that, or I didn't like who I was when I was doing that. And to kind of take the good and the bad and, kind of reshuffle things. And when I went into my next job, I was able to bring so much more to it than I really ever anticipated because I was so conscious of where my value lied and what I also valued in the workplace.
There are so many women in our orbit who have been fired, right? And other opportunities have presented themselves or they've gone into entrepreneurship. And as they recall wanting to, after the experience, wanting to sit on their couch or drink wine, eat cookie dough, and wallow a bit,
All of the
Have
above at the
at
same
it. Yeah.
you say that's important, right? To do, but
Yes.
then what?
Yeah.
Then what? Then what? What's the next step?
Do it for a bit, of course. Wallow. If you can have the cookie one hand, if you can manage a cookie and a wine in one hand and some fries in another, like, do it. But
Mhm.
we say, indulge it for a minute. You got fired, man. It sucks. We were like billboard press release fired, and not everybody is that. But whenever you lose your job, if you're so lucky to have friends and colleagues and whatever, people will reach out to you. They
Mm.
will reach out to you, and they're not going to know to help you if you don't have that periscope or that hand up.
I mean, I definitely wallowed for a
Mhm.
minute. And my timing was very lucky in the sense that when I left the journal, it was June, and I hadn't had a summer off since I was 15. So I think a lot of women
10 years.
enter the workforce and just go.
That's right.
And so even if it's just a physical recalibration, to be able to, you know, sleep, cry, process, go through all the feelings. But in addition to the incoming, I also did a lot of external reaching out because I knew that whatever came next would very likely come through my existing network. And so to Laura's point, don't retreat, put yourself out there, however, you know, in whatever capacity you can. It might just be a simple phone call. If you're feeling up to, you know, lunching and breakfasting and doing those things, go for it. But I do think it is very important to not completely like dissolve into a black hole.
Yeah, and both of you just spoke about the power of community.
Mm.
In what ways did your community
Yeah.
show up for you? It's you did the outreach, right? But what was, a moment where you were like, this is the power of community and why reaching out is so important.
And there's actually extra community now. There's a delineation, or yes, we all have our personal communities, but it's 2025. It is a mess. Everyone's getting fired from everywhere. There's a bigger community than you know. There's a bigger community than your own personal one. It's
Right.
99.9% of the time not personal. You're an item on a sheet. You got to go. All the terms you said at the beginning. Through all of our work that we've done with these people, that they trusted us to share these incredibly vulnerable stories with us that oftentimes they'd never shared before. Oprah had barely spoken about it. So that's when, because, okay, we get fired, it's terrible. Then we ask some people, would you be in this book? Oh, yes. And again, that could be anywhere with anyone. Like if you've, I mean, like we could have sort of called Johnny Appleseeding, you're actually, throwing around these, you're not aware of it because you're not like a mercenary. You're like, oh, I'm going to plant this garden. It's going to grow for me in a year. Wait, you're just doing it, And then my husband says, you sort of look around after all those years that you've earned your stripes and you've sort of got this orchard there, and the orchard is something that you've grown and you have and you can access, and you can sort of, to really hammer this home, you can pull the apple off the tree, and that can be like, could you please, or I know this apple, I grew this apple, and people are, this is what I love about this country in a way.
I love that. And Kristina, what about you in terms of community showing up for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think because we identified what happened to us by name, I immediately said, I've been fired. There was no sugarcoating it. I didn't couch it in any other, flowery language. And I think when people hear that word, whether you've been through it before or not, everyone can imagine, every single person who has a job can imagine being fired, right? Like, even if it's just like a little flicker that like flashes past you, you're kind of like, ooh, gosh, And so I think because it is a universal sort of fear that when it happens to someone you love, respect, whatever the sort of like level of engagement with that other human is, you sort of imagine how you would feel if it happened to you. And I think what was so powerful after I had been let go was it was at almost like every level of acquaintance to my mom and dad, it stood like, put their hand out and said, how can I help? There were strangers on Instagram who were writing like lovely things to, former colleagues, mentors, other HR people I had crossed over in my professional career. If you use the word fired, if people know you were fired and know that you love working, love what you do, want to build something else, want to get back into it, then you are sort of seeding those opportunities by putting it out there, by saying to people, hey, I don't know exactly what's next, but can we get a coffee? Can we have a conversation? Can I hear what you're up to, what your organization is, doing?
All of this stuff is messy, but sometimes in terms of getting back in the game, so much of the old fashioned stuff still is the way. Everyone's also getting terrified about how is my resume going to get through the algorithm? Is it going to have a keyword? No one hires someone based on a keyword. No, you hire someone who you end up meeting. You know what I
That's right.
mean? And so I think, like, those sort of old fashioned, like, if you've got showing that you've got the DNA for the business you want to be in, showing up for that business, that's not algorithm stuff. You know what I mean? So actually, the gut stuff and the heart stuff is what's going to propel you in the right place, but you have to listen to it. And that's where sometimes, like, this book is addressing, so many women get sidetracked by I should be, and so many of us are carrying all of this weight of womanhood because the workplace wasn't constructed for us, and so when we fall at the moment, we fall harder because it wasn't ours in the first place. But, like, so that's why we've sort of got to get in this book, is to give us, strangely, and it's so punk, the idea all the cool girls get fired, but to get a bit of firing swag.
Yeah, that leads me to my next question about men and the workplace not being built for us. You are leading me right into it
Oh,
because
you're welcome.
there are cultural differences. We know, right, between the way men react to losing their jobs, being let go, versus women, right? So,
Yeah.
can you share your insight on this and why you believe it's this way?
Well, one of the things that we were really surprised by in researching the book was how few women were on the sort of like fired Mount Rushmore. There are very few women who have a significant setback as part of their narrative of their success. When you
Mm.
think of Mike Bloomberg, you think of Steve Jobs, you think of these titans of industry. Almost all of them have that fired swagger, right? That Laura was talking about. They have this sort of like, this thing happened to them and it set them on the
Yeah.
path, made them like,
Mm-hmm.
billionaires, and they changed an entire, they changed finance, they changed
Yep.
technology.
They blew it up
Uh,
behind them. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but, you know, Oprah Winfrey has been through this. And it
Mm-hmm.
is
Yeah.
not a point, it is not like the third thing when you get to her Wikipedia. Like, and she built this incredible, like, changed television, changed the way that we talk about
Yeah,
like 100 billion different topics. Like,
that's right.
Oprah brought how America talks about
Yeah.
things like into our living room, and we
That's right.
addressed things for the first time head on as a country. And did anyone know that she had this significant like failure in her early career and overcame it? And I think we need more women, female examples. We need the 15 women who are in this book talking about what happened to them to be those sort of
To
like easy
multiply.
things when someone says, "Oh, I got fired," that your mom says, "Well, so did Oprah." And look at her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if we have this book be the shortcut for people to talk about this and own what is happening to them, whether it's your best friend giving this to you because she doesn't have the words. Maybe people don't know how to address you after you've been fired. Let this book be the shortcut to get that conversation started so you can process it, get over it, and get on with what comes next. Because Laura and I
Mhm.
promise you that whatever comes next
Promise you.
is
Yeah.
better than like what came before.
So when you reframe getting fired
Yeah.
to a career pivot or reinvention, what does the future of women in the workplace look like?
Oh God. Well, may it be. I mean, a future filled with ownership, filled with owners. Filled with makers and owners. I would add owners to makers,
Yes.
and and again, like, a big point we make in the book is the workplace itself is no longer linear. The corner office need not be the goal.
Right.
No one thinks you're dodgy if your resume says you were less than 2 years somewhere. People are making, the individual can be the brand now. You can make money in so many different ways. So I think that ownership, one, of what happened to you gives you power, puts you up there with the guys who've been doing this for a long time, but also that ownership of this happening gives you power, but also understanding that, as overwhelming as this is and as gutting as this is, there are different and vaster options for you in the workplace than there ever used to be. And it's overwhelming because then everyone's going to have a podcast and everyone's going to do, of course not. But, like, you could make cookies on TikTok. There's so many ways you can make money now.
I sort of echo what Laura said. I definitely think ownership and allyship is really important. I think the more often that this is happening to everyone in the world, there is going to be a lot more empathy for people who've been through it. And I think there's going to be a lot more, hopefully, like people lifting each other up and talking about it. And, I think a fired person is a great person to hire because they come back even stronger. They come in hot, like when I started my new job, I was so excited to be there. And I think, I think that's also just like a good reminder as, we sort of think about if we're in, positions or opportunities to influence, the hirings. I think knowing that someone's been through something like this just makes me think that they're so much more resilient and eager, and they're going to bring so much more to the workforce.
Ownership and allyship. I agree, ladies.
Ownership and allyship, walk into a bar.
There you go.
We're all in this together. I think that's the thing. Like,
That's right.
We do not, firing no longer has to be a lonely game. Like,
that's right. What urgency or call would you all have for cool girls who are on the verge of a life breakthrough or a career shift? One thing that you would say.
It's gonna be okay.
Mhm.
Like almost like when you're a kid and you bruise your knee. You know what I mean? And your mom says that to you, isn't it? It's that simple. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay faster if you own it, if you rest but don't retreat, if you put your hand up, if you acknowledge your industry and the way it's changing, if you see the world around you and you don't forget the skills that you stand on.
Mm.
Yeah, I would say it's going to be better than okay.
Oh, I'll raise you. Someone's getting that uppity.
This is such a joy, a treat, and a gift to everyone that reads or listens to this book. So I thank y'all for joining us.
Thank you so much, Sinead.
Thank you.
All the Cool Girls Get Fired is available wherever books are sold. Thank you for your time, good people. Take care.